Today on Starships and Steel, we're asking the question, does size matter? Stay tuned to find out. Today on Starships and Steel, science fiction. First time, I know you're all excited. I am. We're going to talk about 15mm scale versus 28mm scale, why you might be interested in one and not the other. I personally used to play 28mm and now I prefer 15mm, and I'm going to tell you why today. And as always, I like to have a beverage as I talk to you or build crafts while you guys watch. Today we're going to drink Village Blacksmith. This one is again brewed right here in Calgary. Got a lot of good craft breweries here. It's pretty good. I've had this one before as well. I quite like it. It is 5.4% alcohol. It is an alloy of premium 2-row Alberta barley, roasted to a black malt and infused with bitter hops. It is stalwart and bold, and it will douse the coal-fired thirst, slake the spirit, and clear the soot from the teeth. Sounds pretty good. As I've said, I've had it before, so I already know it's good. If you can find it where you are, highly recommend. No clue how far these guys actually ship their stuff. I'm going to drink out of a Ewenbrau glass, which is a brewery out of Quebec. I like them too. I might do their Blanc de Chamblay because it's one of my favorites. It's always much better on tap. But alright, the Village Blacksmith. Pretty tasty. I got an outline here again, keep myself on track. So, first thing we'll start with is what brought me here. Back in the day, in my 20s, much older now, I used to play Warhammer 40,000. I quite liked it. I thought it was cool. I liked the system. I liked the culture around it. I started back when it was a hardcover book and it was called Rogue Trader. It was cool. They had all these neat things in the book. It had great art, great story, great fluff background, ways to build your own stuff, ways to model your own stuff, articles in the back of the book on how to build things. It was cool if you were creative, and I guess I was back then, although I didn't know it. Those things were awesome to see. They let your imagination flow, run wild, give you a universe to play in. Awesome. Awesome. As I continued to play Warhammer 40,000, became a box set, and I bought that, and it changed and morphed over the years, and I kind of fell out of playing fantasy war games or science fiction war games and role-playing games in favor of pursuing my path in the SCA, which has been very rewarding. I've come back full circle. I still play in the SCA, obviously. I'm still very involved. But I've come back full circle and started playing games again. When I first came back to games, I wanted to... Well, before I start there, I wasn't playing, but I still followed them, and I still watched. And I still watched this Warhammer 40,000 world Rogue Trader that I thought was freaking cool change, and the company changed into this, you have to use our models, you can't build your own stuff. White Dwarf, where it used to have articles on how to build land speeders out of empty deodorant sticks, gone. Didn't exist anymore. Now it was, you must use our models, and they are not cheap. You must use our stuff. Our terrain, you can buy that too. We're not going to show you how to build it anymore. Maybe a few articles here and there, but not like we used to be. It's just going to be, you need to use our stuff. Proxies aren't acceptable in our rule system. And they had ways to build armies with points, which was always there, which is cool, but if you wanted to build robots, man, Rogue Trader, they had a thing, you could program your own robots. It was cool. Now, not so much. So, we ranted about that a lot. I also played, back in the day, Starfleet Battles. Spaceships, pretty cool, pretty complicated game, but pretty fun. When I came back full circle, I played some board games here and there, and I was like, man, I miss flying spaceships. I miss blowing up my friends. But how do I get guys to play spaceships? I mean, Starfleet Battles isn't exactly simple. Well, I started looking at rule sets, and I found Full Thrust on Facebook, which I still have never played. I started looking at how to build stuff. I think actually even before I found Full Thrust, I found a 15mm Sci-Fi group, and they pointed me at Full Thrust and those guys, because those guys, although they bought spaceships from various vendors and manufacturers, they quite often would build their own. Cool. And they were a cool scale. I mean, I looked at Firestorm Armada, and I thought the ships were huge for like a tabletop game. I mean, space is big. I don't want my ships to be this big on the table. Not for me. I mean, battleships and stuff. I mean, their cruises are only whatever, right? So I skipped over 15mm Sci-Fi and jumped into Full Thrust and kind of looked at that stuff. But I went back into 15mm Sci-Fi group, and I looked through their pictures. And the culture and the group, which was an awesome group and still is an awesome group, was creativity. It was guys building stuff. They had built these giant hovercrafts. I remember it was when I first joined. They had gone to Michael's and they had got those wooden frame things that are routed, and they had used bits from electrical boxes, and they built these giant killer hovercrafts. And they were big. I mean, they'd probably be regular size hovercraft for 20mm, but for 15, they were big. They were big. So cool. This was the culture that I missed. This was what I missed. So I started looking at 15mm more. And what did I find? I found this cool group of people. I found all these cool vendors. I found this whole system. System is not the right word, trust me. But I came there. And why did I come there? Because it was so much. It was just so much. You want to play 20mm Sci-Fi? What are your options? 4 or 5 different rule sets if you're lucky, and most of them all want you to use their models? Man. Not what I'm looking for. And I'm not talking skirmish level stuff. I'm like talking Warhammer 40,000 level stuff. So we've got all these things going for us. We've got so much model variation. We've got so many different rule sets. You can't beat the price. The community is awesome. And if you just roll by that 15mm Sci-Fi group and take a look, and there's so much creativity and so many people on there, both players and manufacturers and rule set authors on there. It's awesome. Highly recommend. So I'll just do a quick comparison here. These are some of my old models. This is like an old Space Marine. As you can tell, he's from like the original Rogue Trader box set. Back in the day, you could buy, and if you're new and you're not from back those times, just get ready for this. 30 Space Marines, 30 Canadian dollars. Not a word of a lie. Think about that. Think about that in today's prices. They were, these guys that you're looking at right now, this Space Marine, they came on sprues. You cut them out, you posed them and glued them together and then painted them so you could make whatever you wanted. Back to that creativity. It was awesome. Next to this Space Marine is a little Kurasan 15mm trooper. You can see he's a lot smaller. Details pretty good. Paint job, well, it's me. I'm not that great of a painter, but... So you can see the scale size here. These are 2 standard troopers. If you look at the next set, this is, and again, another Kurasan 15mm dreadnought type idea, power armor suit, versus an old Rogue Trader Space Marine dreadnought. Yeah, I don't have the new ones, I have the old ones. That's how long ago I played. So that's an interesting size comparison for you. What do you think about that? That's pretty neat. I mean, this entire video I'm going to say this, but if you want, make comments below on all the things I'm saying, what you think about it. Just let me know. I'm curious what you guys think, especially if you've never played 15mm before or haven't even really heard of it. So what do you want to play? I mean, like, do you want to play Stormtroopers? You can find proxies. You can find guys who build models that look like Stormtroopers. Do you want to play Halo? Does that Kurasan guy look a bit like a Halo guy? Yes. And also, Spartan Games just released Halo Ground Battles, whatever it's called. That's 15mm as well, or pretty close to it. So lots of cool stuff there. No idea what the price is on that because it's name brand. No idea. Do you want to play Fremen? Do you want to play Dune? You can get these guys called the Sardine. They're like desert troopers. They work pretty good. I'm building an army with them right now. Have been for a while. I don't go that fast. So you get those guys, and you go and grab a Reaper Bones Great Worm, Purple Worm, whatever it's called, and you can modify that into some kind of vehicle for the Fremen. Now you've got a cool converted sandworm It's pretty neat. That's exactly what my plans are. When I get around to it, I'll do a video on that because I'm pretty excited about it. But whatever you want, you can probably find it. There's probably someone that makes something similar or exactly like what you want. It's very, very cool. So model-wise, there's lots of companies that build them. This is just a few. We got Clear Horizon. These guys make a lot of cool stuff. He's a good guy. I think he still posts on 15mm Sci-Fi. Ion Age, that guy definitely still posts on 15mm Sci-Fi. He has awesome stuff. It makes not just science fiction 15mm stuff, which is true of a lot of these manufacturers. You can get fantasy or feudal or whatever, World War II, doesn't matter. I'm just personally more focused on sci-fi. Ground Zero Games, spaceships as well. Lots of cool stuff there. Kirasan makes a huge range of figures. He's probably one of the bigger guys who sell stuff. That being said, I have a lot of figures from him. Quite often his website is down because he's one guy, and when he has too many orders, he takes his site down so he can't get more, ships them out, and then brings the site back up. So that may or may not be to your liking. Rebel Minis, these are the guys that make the Sahadin that I was mentioning before, Good Fremen, Proxies. And that's just a few guys. Like, there's a lot of manufacturers. You just type in 15mm miniatures on the internet and you'll get so many. So many. Price. Well, as I mentioned before, the Space Marine I showed you, 30 for 30, $1 each. Hey, you can't even get bones for that price anymore. It just doesn't exist. Looking at the Games Workshop website as an example of the cost of 28mm high-end miniatures, we can see this tactical squad of Marines, 10 Marines, 40 bucks, $4 a pop, and that's buying them as a set. So that's going to be cheaper than buying individual figures usually, which are usually more than $4 each. Price can get up there pretty quick, and in comparison, just as a quick example, I went to the Rebel Mini site and I looked up the Sahadin guys, and their infantry, you get 21 15mm guys for $10.95. That's 52 cents each. 52 cents! I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, quite often you'll get squads of 8 guys in 15mm for like $5 or $6. But buying them in bulk, buying them as a set, much like the Games Workshop, $4, 52 cents. And that's why I like 15mm better. Does your army suddenly get a lot bigger and a lot more varied? So, other advantages? Smaller. Smaller, why is that an advantage? The models are less detailed, blah, blah, blah. Sure, a little bit less detailed. Some of them are pretty good though. However, if you're playing on a 3 foot by 3 foot table, how big is that table when you're running 28mm figures on it? 15mm figures, twice the size. Pretty cool. It also means your weapons can actually have more realistic ranges on them because your table is twice the size, relatively. Your terrain's smaller, easier to pack around. I got a couple buildings here. You see that? That's a building. That's a Space Marine. So, pretty small for him. For a 15mm guy, if you can see that, it's scaled really well. I might take a picture and throw that up too so you guys can see that as well, so I'll put that here if I do. So, you can also, I went to a model railroad shop, like a dedicated model railroad shop. Not a general hobby store, they might have them too, where they just sell trains. This one sells old train parts. I got some cool train parts. I got like an old train car with no wheels on it. Maybe model railroad guys build these, repair these or something, I don't know. I use it for terrain. I put it down on the table, and now my 15mm guys, and I'll put a picture of this with them next to it up as well, can run by it, use it for cover, shoot around the corner. Very awesome. I got some containers, same thing. Awesome. I mean, pre-built terrain. This one's used and broken, so it was like maybe $5, if that. These are a bit more because they're actually new, but I got a bunch of them. So I mean, I got these cool containers. I got this cool tower I'm working on. Have been for a long time. It's, I don't know, like this big. Here's a beer bottle for scale. Next to a dude, it's a pretty big tower. So this would need to be, to get this piece of terrain from 15mm to 28mm, you're going to multiply it by 2. It's going to be like huge. You want to store that? Other things that are cool. Ready for this? Matchbox. This is called the Blockade Buster. This was a super popular tank among the 15mm guys. Not because it was a super cool tank, but because they were cheap. They're like $1 each, $1.50 or something like that. So think about that. You want to get a tank for 140,000. How much is a Lehman Russ cost? How much does a Land Raider cost? Tank. Put a picture of this up to scale as well. Dude, like, it's pretty decent. It's a big tank. It's a big tank, and you can take the top off, and you can do all kinds of things with them. Like I got this one. I'll have this picture as well. My little rocket launcher type dude. It's a total, super easy custom thing. It's got some electrical connectors on it. A little gem for radar. There's a post for how I built this on my blog. I'll put a link down below. Like, it's super easy. And I've got one that I've half built, which is going to be a cool hover tank. Like, this tank had so much potential to build cool things. They make some other stuff. They make a striker. If you can find them, they're expensive now. I got mine for $5. I should have bought more. That thing is awesome. I'll put a picture of that up as well with guys next to it. Like, probably not super high tech future, but near future sci-fi stuff. That thing's awesome. Highly recommend. So that's some cool scale stuff. So you got model variations all over the place. You got awesome price. We got cool scale, which allows you to do more stuff than you could do with 28mm. Rule sets. This one's pretty popular. This one's called Grunt's 15mm. The guy who did this is doing Imperial Skies, which is also looks like a pretty cool game, although I did not get it on the Kickstarter. I have too much other stuff going on right now. This one is cool. Like half this book. So this is the book. This is the rules. So 42 pages of rules. And it's colorful and pretty and awesome. And you can get it on PDF on drive-thru as well. And then this stuff, page 43 to page like 91, 89, is all, like this is all building units. How to build points. He's got online builders so you can build your own stuff. That's pretty awesome as far as I'm concerned. If I can build my own dudes, that's where I want to be. He's got like a monster maker in here, so your 15mm guys can fight Cthulhu or Godzilla or whatever you want. He's got optional rules for unit activation. Solid system. Lots of guys play this one. One of the ones that I've played the most is called Tomorrow's War. I'm not going to do a huge review on these. Tomorrow's War is a bit like a near future sci-fi thing. It's different in a good way, I think. Activation is based on reactions. There's no point system, but you can still build whatever you want, so it's all scenario driven, so people need to come up with scenarios. The company building who wrote it, Ambush Alley, is supposed to be making a new version of it. I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully they get one out. This is based on the Force on Force system. If you're familiar with that, you can take a look through. There's a couple play tests online. The one that I just came across yesterday, again, although I had seen it before, is by a guy named JC Locke / the Jolly GM, who I've recently run into on the Conan boards. Small world. I'll link his video down below as well. You guys can take a look at that, and maybe some Force on Force videos as well. Get an idea behind the rules. However, these cost money. They're not free. There are free systems though. Definitely some free systems. Stargrunt 2, I believe, is still free. Fast and Dirty. Fubar. They're all free online systems. Some of them are really full-fledged rule systems like this, only free. Some are a couple pages long. Simple to play, simple to learn. Patrol Angus. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Apologize. By Ion Age. I love that guy's figures. I haven't actually played his system, but his figures are awesome. Highly recommend his website. A couple other ones, Alien Squad Leader, Laser Burn, which goes back to the origins of Warhammer 40,000, I understand, and Fistful of Stars. And that's just like a small number of these rule sets. There's so many, and almost everyone has their own pet projects where they want to kind of build their own rule sets based on what they like and what they want to see and what they don't want to see. It's just, because again, remember this group, super creative, super awesome. Talking a little bit fast here because I'm so excited about how awesome this group is. So the community is awesome. Like the major group that I hang out on is 15mm Sci-Fi, and I'm there less than I normally am because I've been playing a lot of Conan. Sorry. But there's lots of guys out there that do awesome stuff. I'll put links to some of the stuff they do down below. Like I said, our manufacturers are on there, our rule set guys are on there. We have a lot of creative people on there, do a lot of writing, a lot of building, a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff. The main online blog kind of update thing, 15mm Sci-Fi, is called Dropship Horizon. Again, I'll put a link to that down below. It's going to be a lot of stuff down below, right? So lots of cool information for you guys. And one of the things that I always love to see, and it's one of the things I love about the internet nowadays in the modern world, is author involvement. I love that you can be like, I don't know how this rule works. Grunts is a great example. I don't know how this rule works. So you type in, how does this rule work? How does this work? You'll get all these answers from all the guys who played a lot, and then you'll get an answer from the author, and he'll be like, I intended it to be this way. Now you know. Now you know. And that's, I mean, 15mm doesn't have that exclusively. I have the exact same thing with the Conan RPG. They're really involved as well. Awesome. I mean, they're really involved during a Kickstarter. We'll see if they're really involved after the Kickstarter, right? Not building Grunts right now. He's building Imperial Skies. I don't know how actually active he is on the forum, but I bet if I asked a question, he'd probably show up within a couple days and post. I'm running low on beers, guy. Hang on. I got another one. Don't worry. I don't have that much more to say. This is hard. My other bottle opener, which is easy, got broken in the last Conan game. Which means it was pretty shitty, I guess, but... okay, well, beers report. And I touched on this briefly before. Painting these guys. A lot of guys are going to be like, 15mm is so small. 28mm is hard enough. Man, if you're an old guy like me, get a visor that magnifies things. That's a good start. Get a good brush. Other than that, I mean, you get like 5 or 6 of them, and you put them on a popsicle stick with like blue tack or hot glue or whatever. You get your airbrush or your spray can or whatever, as long as it's a good spray can. Hit those bad boys with some primer. If you're using like an army painter deal that has color in it, base coat them like these guys, base coat them blue. These base coated blue, get back in there, hit your visor, paint the gun, paint the backpack. If you want, you can put some highlights on some of it. A little bit of white dots for white dot highlighting. Pretty cool, pretty effective. Hit them with a dark wash, and they're pretty much done. Like, I mean, you can do a lot more. Like, you can paint them like you paint high-end figures. You can get some really cool paint jobs. There's some really good guys out there. But to get these guys on the table and have them look cool and have them look painted and cohesive instead of just bare metal, I would almost say these are quicker and easier to paint than a 28mm army. Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, anyways, so that's a quick rundown on 15mm Sci-Fi. Like I said, in terms of, and probably no one who's watching this is going to care about what I'm going to say now, and probably anyone that does care about this isn't watching anymore. But if you play D&D, Conan, whatever, with 28mm figures, you can use 15mm figures too. There's lots of guys that build figures for fantasy war games, fantasy role-playing, and then suddenly your table becomes again twice as big. Your dungeons become twice as big. Your terrain is half as big. So if you're in love with Grimdark, I'm not going to take that away from you. I'm not going to say it's shitty. It's not. It has a lot of good following. I used to love that world. I personally think it's changed too much, and not necessarily the world, but I think the company's culture has changed. It's not for me anymore. So if that sounds a little bit like you, If you're missing some of the creativity that you feel the games used to have, check out 15mm. Check out 15mm Sci-fi. You can there's even guys doing Warhammer 40,000 in 15mm Sci-fi. So I think that's the end of this week's episode. I know I owe you guys a few things still, things I've told you about that I want to do. A Conan walkthrough using index card RPG cards. Still working on that. Getting closer to where I want to start filming it. I told you guys I was going to do a more complicated combat example on Roll20. I'm not going to use Roll20. I've changed my mind. I'm going to use Fantasy Grounds. I was mentioning the Jolly GM before. He has built an awesome Conan skin for the more core Fantasy Grounds system. I'm putting this video out on Monday of the long weekend versus Friday or Saturday of the long weekend because I'm taking his extensions and I'm extending them further to make it more Conan specific. I'm getting closer to where I want to be. I'll do a double video, I guess. I'll do a video that shows a combat example and the features of that Conan extension, both what's been provided by the Jolly GM and what I've built on top of it. So I think that'll make it a really cool system. Not that it isn't already. If you want to check out the current Conan extension for Fantasy Grounds, you can most certainly do that. And he has that on the page, and I'll link him below, as well as he has a bunch of YouTube videos where he actually runs through some Conan adventures where he plays online and puts them on YouTube, so you guys can get a feel that way. If you want to see that stuff when it comes out, feel free to please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, if it gives you something to think about, if it makes you want to explore 15mm, hit that like button. Till next time, cheers.